Hi, my name is Ian Kane. I am one of the co-founders of Ternio. My other co-founders are Bryant Maroney and Daniel Goldman. You could check out more on Bryant and Daniel on our website, ternio.io, as well as our YouTube channel under Ternio Token. They're also on Telegram sometimes, so feel free to shoot them a note. Happy to answer some questions here for you guys today. So Ternio is the first scalable blockchain solution to support programmatic digital advertising. Digital advertising is a $224 billion a year business, and 70% of those ad dollars are transacted programmatically. Programmatic advertising is similar to high-frequency trading on the stock market. So when a brand like BMW wants to advertise on Wall Street Journal, BMW doesn't contact Wall Street Journal directly. They actually work through a series of middlemen, and each one of these middlemen high-speed trades that ad impression all the way up and down the funnel. Now, the problem with this is that there is a high amount of QPS, which is queries per second, that is required. And so we needed a blockchain solution that has a very high TPS, transactions per second, that can support that volume required. So that's what Ternio is focused on, is delivering a solution to the existing ad supply chain that has a very high transaction rate that can support the way that both publishers and advertisers are used to buying and selling media. You know, the idea came from, I would say, just seeing a lot of the inefficiencies in the market. Mark Pritchard of Procter & Gamble is famous last year at an IAB conference for calling the ad supply chain murky at best, fraudulent at worst. A lot of these agencies are just clawing back money. They don't want to continue to spend on an opaque supply chain where they don't know who's getting what percentage of the ad dollar, and they know some of the money's going to fraud. So let's kind of break that down a little bit. When BMW advertises on Wall Street Journal, they work through these middlemen. Wall Street Journal gets approximately 50 cents of every dollar. That means 50% of the ad spend is actually just going to supporting that ad supply chain. And the problem is that both BMW and Wall Street Journal don't know how many middlemen sit in between. So they know they're wasting their ad spend. They just don't know how much of it is wasted and how much is actually useful. I will say outside of that, the other problem is since 2008, there has been a theme where the demand side, who controls the advertising, lengthens the amount of time it takes to pay the supply side. So you have a publisher, let's take Wall Street Journal again as an example, that can wait 30, 60, 90, sometimes 120 days to actually be paid for an impression. That's crazy. Digital advertising is one of the only industries where you deliver a product or a service, and in this case it's an ad impression, and you don't get paid until 4 months later. Outside of just the opaque supply chain and the lengthy payment terms, I'd say about $18 billion of that $224 billion each year goes to advertising fraud. Advertising fraud is things like domain spoofing, where I create, iansblog.com, but then I misrepresent it as Wall Street Journal to capture a high amount of ad dollars, as well as non-human traffic. Non-human traffic is essentially bot traffic, and there are actually more bots on the internet today than there are real people. So between late payment terms, an opaque supply chain, dealing with fraud, advertisers and publishers, the system is broken. It needs to be fixed, and blockchain is inherently that solution to provide trust in a trustless environment and bring transparency to that entire process. So Ternio's business model is to partner with existing companies in the ad supply chain. I should be very clear, we're not building an ad network, so we're not going to work with BMW and Wall Street Journal and just connect the pipes. What we'd rather do is work with existing companies in the ad supply chain who are trustworthy and can get the benefits of blockchain. And those companies are happy to partner with us because we don't get involved in ad serving or yield management or data targeting or any of their core competencies. So we're not a threat to them. And in fact, we act as a third-party verification to say, hey, this partner is providing value. And outside of that, we give them ability to pay their supply side instantly, which gives them a competitive advantage over companies that are still on a legacy payment model of net 30, 60, 90, whatever it is. So how does it work from a component side? We actually use a combination of Hyperledger and Stellar. We can do currently 1.2 million transactions a second, all on chain. To our knowledge, it's the highest scaling blockchain that's currently available. And we're actually in third-party verification this week because we know it's a bold claim if we make it, but it holds a lot more weight if we have a third-party verified. So stay tuned for that. So we use a combination of Hyperledger and Stellar. Hyperledger is great because it is a permission blockchain where you can essentially obfuscate certain terms. And that's really important because we're dealing in a B2B environment where you may have a DSP like Trade Desk and a supply-side platform like Rubicon Project. And Rubicon says to Trade Desk, hey, if you spend $10 million a year, we're going to give you better pricing. But both Trade Desk and Rubicon don't want their competitors in the ad supply chain to know about that. That just happens in a B2B environment. So Hyperledger is great because it solves for those issues where you can obfuscate certain terms of the contract while still making everything verifiable by independent parties. Outside of that, we then push to Stellar. And Stellar is really great because it has very high transaction speed, but it's also very cheap to verify the transactions that occur. Ethereum, can have a gas price of $2 to $2.50. Stellar is thousandths of a penny. So it just makes sense from a scalability standpoint. Most other digital advertising companies using blockchain are building ad networks. I think that's great. I think that's a really great value prop. They are looking to essentially compete with the existing supply chain. In our opinion, that's going to be a bit of an uphill battle because you have companies that currently control billions, if not tens of billions of dollars worth of ad spend. In our opinion, those companies are not going to roll over to the next blockchain ad network. In addition, a lot of those blockchain ad networks are built on Ethereum, which has some scaling limitations. In our opinion, Ternio has just built a better mousetrap because we want to partner with the existing companies in the ad supply chain that are trustworthy, bring them the benefits of blockchain, and capitalize on the spend that's already moving through their platform. ICO makes a lot of sense for us, not just as a fundraising vehicle, but also we get to fund our company by people that support our product. And that's really important. We've had individuals, developers from Google, from LinkedIn, from Rubicon Project, all understand what we're doing. We're in a bit of a niche industry, right? It's digital advertising, it's blockchain. There's only so many people that understand it, but the people that do really support it. So it's great to have people buy into our product who could ultimately use it at their company. ICO is also really great because it helps us make a market where we can get that turn token into the marketplace. Traditional funding vehicles like venture capital or private equity can sometimes come with stipulations, if you will. We have a really great, clear vision for what we want to do with Ternio. Sometimes if you give up control to a private equity company, you're more focused on driving profit than actually solving some of the big challenges. So for us, it made a lot of sense to go with ICO. So right now, you can buy media. You don't need Ternio. It's just that you're going to face a lot of the challenge that we talked about before, which are you don't know who you're buying from ultimately to get that impression. You don't know if there's ad fraud or how much of that's going to ad fraud. And there are lengthy payment terms. So if you're a publisher, you're going to have to wait at least 30 days minimum to get paid for that advertising. So basically, anybody who has the Turn token can use that for the full transparency of getting access to our platform. Ternio, when we go to market, will provide a dashboard to every single partner that we integrate with, so they can actually see literally how many hops does it take to go from ad agency to demand-side platform to exchange to supply-side platform to publisher. What was the percentage that was taken? So they get full transparency into that process. The other important thing, too, is that they'll be able to determine, is there somebody in the ad supply chain that is not honoring the smart contract terms? And is there a chain break that's occurring? And that's really important from not only pinpointing if there's a technical issue as to why the contract breaks down, or is there something more nefarious going on where somebody's just not being a good partner. So Ternio is in pre-sale right now. We're going to run the pre-sale until May the 31st. On June the 1st, we go into our ICO, and that ICO runs from June 1st to June 15th. Upon completion of the ICO, we actually have pilots currently being planned with two of the largest ad agencies in the world, and we'll probably run those July or so of this year. So it's exciting, and from our standpoint, the proof is in the execution, right? We can give a great sales pitch, tell you we have the greatest technology in the world, but once we can actually demonstrate for the ad supply chain, all the way from the agency to the publisher, hey, here are the benefits. Agencies, you know who you're working with. You're not buying ad fraud. Publishers, you're getting paid. You have better cash flow to run your business. That's really compelling. And when we can demonstrate that and show that, I think we're going to see a lot of adoption for Ternio. So we're excited about what the future has to hold.